All right, welcome back. In our last update on Larimer County Case 2015 DR 00229, the petitioner was in the middle of a fight, challenging a decade of enforcement based on what he claims are completely void court orders. Well, today, we have an update that is, frankly, it's almost unbelievable. The state has finally filed its official response.
Okay, let's just jump right into this. After taking an entire month to build its defense against some really serious allegations, the state filed its response. But they filed it in the wrong case. And look, we're not talking about a simple typo here. This is a fundamental mistake that has the potential to change absolutely everything.
But before we even get to that misfiling, we have to back up just a little bit to what happened right before it was discovered. The petitioner had filed a really detailed motion to get the support orders from 2015 and 2022 declared void, arguing they were invalid from the moment they were created. And then on November 2, 2025, Judge Susan Jasmine Blanco issued her denial.
So the court's reasoning for shutting this down, it really boiled down to two key claims. First, the judge said the petitioner didn't provide a valid legal mechanism for the court to even act on his request. And second, she ruled that he was simply too late, that he'd missed all the deadlines for any kind of review.
But here's where it gets interesting, because that's a direct contradiction to what's in the filings. The petitioner's documents show he did provide a very specific legal mechanism, Colorado Rule of Civil Procedure 60b-4. Now, this rule is designed for exactly one thing, to grant relief from a judgment that is void. And here is the most crucial part. A challenge to a void judgment by law has no time limit. You can bring it at any time.
So with the judge's denial now on the record, all eyes turned to the state's official response to the petitioner's evidence. It landed shortly after the denial and, well, it didn't just raise more questions. It seemed to confirm the petitioner's central argument all along, that the entire case file is in complete disarray.
So let's be crystal clear. The case we've all been following is a domestic relations matter. You can see the case number right there, 2015 DR 00229. That DR is the critical piece of information.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the problem. The state's formal legal response, their big defense of a decade of enforcement actions, it wasn't filed in the DR case. No, it was filed in 2015 JV 00229. That JV stands for juvenile, a completely separate, totally unrelated case about a child who isn't even his. You can't make this stuff up.
So what does that mean in legal terms? A document filed in the wrong case is what's known as a legal nullity. It basically means it has no force or effect. It's like it never even happened. So from a procedural standpoint, the petitioner's motion to void the orders was technically completely unopposed. The state never actually responded in the correct case.
This clerical error is so profound, so fundamental, that it lends some serious weight to the petitioner's own, shall we say, blunt assessment of his case file, which he actually put in writing directly to the court.
And you have to understand, this isn't just some isolated incident. The misfiling seems to be part of a much larger pattern of documented errors in the official record. That original 2015 order that started this whole mess, still missing. There's a court minute order from that very same day that explicitly says the court was unable to enter support orders. And even the financial documents that do exist contradict each other on the monthly support amount. It's a mess.
So you're faced with a judicial denial that seems to ignore the law, and a state response that got filed in another universe. What do? Well, the petitioner didn't just appeal. He launched a methodical two-front counterattack, using the court's own administrative chaos against it.
His strategy was really smart, broken into two parts. First, an administrative move, a direct email to the clerk of court. This isn't a legal argument. It's a demand for the official record keeper to please clarify this chaotic file. And second, a legal motion, a motion for reconsideration, which directly confronts the judge's order and points out what he argues is a clear error of law.
The strategy behind that email is incredibly sharp. You could call it an administrative trap. He's asking very simple, factual questions. Which order is the real one? Why is a juvenile case filing in my domestic relations case? The clerk now has to either produce a definitive document, which can then be challenged, or admit that the record is a complete mess, which of course proves the petitioner's entire point.
And while this procedural battle is unfolding in emails and court filings, it is so critical to understand why all of this matters. These are not just abstract clerical errors or legal arguments. For the petitioner, this decade-long string of alleged failures has had a devastating, very real-world impact.
453.
That was the petitioner's FICO score as of this fall. A number that, for anyone who understands credit, represents near total financial ruin.
His credit report shows more than $3,000 in debt, with most of it in collections, all stemming, he argues, from the financial instability this case has directly caused.
And just look at this. His credit utilization is at 120%. That means he owes more money than his total credit limit. From a financial perspective, this is a 5-alarm fire. It's a clear indicator of extreme distress.
But maybe the most staggering number of all is this one, 527. That is the number of days the petitioner has documented being homeless. And he argues this was a direct result of the state suspending his driver's license for non-payment, an action that was taken without ever holding a hearing to see if he could even afford to pay. So all of this brings us to the present moment. The petitioner has challenged the judge's ruling, and now he's using the state's own profound clerical error to try and force a reckoning with the official record itself.
And that really leaves us with the central question here. The foundation of this entire decade-long enforcement action appears to be built on a record that is by any objective measure in chaos. Now that all this chaos is being dragged into the light, will the system be forced to actually confront its own errors?
We will continue to follow every single filing and every new development in this case. Stay tuned for Part 3.